And that would be the sweetest thing of all. If I was a rich man, all day long I'd pretty bum. If I was a wealthy man, I'd never have to work hard. Lord, who made the lions and the lamb, you declared I should be what I am. Would it spoil some vast eternal plan if I was a wealthy man?
Well, this month's theme is about creativity, spirituality through creativity, spiritual living through creativity. And that is the very essence of the Science of Mind teaching. It is like one of my super favorite things to talk about. Now, there's a lot of creativity I wish I had. Like I wish I could sing and play like these guys. Or like Jared, who's in the house, how cool that is. I wish I could sing and play like a lot of you. I wish I could write books. Well, actually, I can. Actually, I can. I wish I took more time to write them. The thing about creativity is we're always using it. It is the essence of our nature. We are born from a creative process to duplicate that creative process to the best of our ability right here in this individual life. And so, everything that we are born from, we are born for. And it's our choice. So, that's that. You got that, right? There's so many things to share with you today, but I want to start by just saying I'm really glad to be back. And, the idea of today's talk, it wasn't mine, it was given to the ministers of Science of Mind, and we could choose it or not, and I thought, well, that's a good talk title. And if you want to step into freedom, you have to step into it. That means you leave behind what wasn't freedom, whatever you want to call that. I'm trying not to call it anything anymore, but it takes practice. That's a creative act in itself. So in the song, you notice that there's this bright day and the sacred night, right? And in our lives, there can be bright days where everything is just working. You know, you're in the zone. Mercy me, they call, they want you to work, they want to take you out, they want to come and feed your kids, they want to work in your garden. I mean, what do you want, you know? So there's times when life just like flows and it just brings you everything that you think you want. I know that can feel so good unless you have a hard time receiving, but if you keep hanging around here, you won't have a hard time receiving for too long. So, and then there's those long, dark, sacred nights. And if you think that it's all a bowl of cherries, you know that every cherry has a pit. You have to know to spit those pits out. Yesterday, I remembered one of my favorite quotes of Joseph Campbell, and that quote is, "In the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek." And so when we're singing, I mean, this song has so many memories for me. I mean, it's one of those epic songs that brings up so many family things, so many services and ceremonies, and it's full. It's a very full song. And I remember watching Satchmo sing that song, like, oh my word. I know I'm not old enough to have remembered that, but I was just a wee little thing. So when we're experiencing that great, bright day, it's incumbent upon us to celebrate it, to give thanks for it, to know that there's something in us that's opened us to that. It's for us, and to allow it to, percolate us more. And if we're like, I grew up on a farm, so I'm really a farmer. And as little seeds are planted into the earth, like we're little God seeds. We really are, because we're made from all that is in order to be all that is. So that's what we are. We're little God seeds. So if you're in one of those long nights, and it's just long and doesn't feel quite so sacred, it feels a little squishy, or like, oh my God, where am I going? I just, if you can just remember that the soil knows how to grow you. That's its purpose. That's the purpose of the cave. Because it has the treasure that you're looking for, or that you may not know you're looking for, but you're yearning for, or that your soul is praying every day through you to remember that it's who you are. So that when you're in the soil and you're feeling a little crunched and it feels kind of dark, just know that you are being percolated. That really means brought up to the light. It's really true. So in that dark night, or in the tight corners of our lives, because we all have human experiences, however sacred we are, when we do not feel ourselves as the holy beings that we are, when we've forgotten and we haven't called our practitioner yet, what I want you to remember is that the light is calling you. It's like that, pulling you up. It's that life force. It's that impulse. And in Ukraine, there's a word for it. And as I said in the first service, when I first heard this word, I thought, gosh, these people are angry. They say, davai, davai. And I go, what? They wanted me to do something, but I didn't know what it was. And I said, well, what are you saying? And they said, come on. Come on. But it didn't feel like come on, because it's from somebody else's experience, But in Ukraine, I learned to say, now I ask you to just catch this, because you don't need to know the word or anything. I could say, zabadu, and you'd feel that. Zaba, zaba, zaba. And you'd feel something. Or I could say zaba, zaba, zaba. But what they say is davai. Davai. And that's that spirit calling us up. Come on. And it's always doing that. And that's why we're here. We're here because at some place, no matter whether our box is really little or really bright or broad, we are being called by that light, and we know it. And we're responding to it. So that's why I love church. That's why I love this teaching. And we have an announcement I want to make. Actually, I don't want to make it. I want to introduce our new board president to make this announcement. Welcome, please, to the stage, President Carrie Jolly.
Good morning. Wow. Lovely to see you all here today. So, thank you for that, Jim. So the Leadership Council has an announcement. After being asked for many months to unite us in a single service, after much discussion with congregants, visioning, and an overwhelming number of folks voting with their stickers, the board has a good deal of discussion about this yesterday. Again this morning, we met and voted to create the new summer single service schedule. Yay! So starting from the first Sunday in June, going through the first Sunday in September, our service will now be meeting at 10:30. There will be a meditation prior to the service. The reasons are many, and we understand that there are some of you who will need to adjust your morning schedules to have it work. We know that it might not be what everyone wants, and we want to design it so that it works as well as possible for the majority of the community. We will meet and reevaluate this again in mid-August. Please realize we're doing this for the greatest good and possibility of building community, and we ask you to give it a try, give it a chance, and let's come together as one community. Some of the reasons that we believe it is the best thing to do now are: it energizes our community, it builds unity and community, it builds unity and connection, it combines energy to create a greater whole, it opens our hearts and minds to support our oneness with Spirit and with each other. It opens possibilities to make more convenient events, classes, and social activities after the service. Please let the Leadership Council know how you feel, and please do all you can to embrace this very carefully considered choice as we move to unite our community as one in spirit. I also have the honor and privilege of making one more announcement. It's very exciting. One of our beloved practitioners has decided to relicense and is returning as a member of our practitioner community. And I think she is still in with Junior Church, but please, when you get a chance after service, welcome back Missy Jolly.
Yes, that is wonderful news. So, Raj, they're so bright lights. Oh my goodness. Okay, creativity. So, just the facts. According to Ernest Holmes, I found this really cool quote this week, and I left it in my office, but I think I'll be able to remember it pretty well. He says, spiritual community, or a science mind community, has only two things that it does. Only two. The first is to teach and learn about the principles of truth. And the second is and the laws that implement those principles. And the second is to learn how to use it. That's all we've got. Two things to sell. Just two. And really, when I thought about it, I went, really, just two? What about visioning? Well, that's a teaching. What about meditation? Well, that's a practice. And everything I thought about was contained within that statement. And I went, he was so smart. And so if you just think about it, there's two purposes for us here. And that is to share and learn that we are inside a system that is governed by spiritual principles. And those principles come to life in human form, in physical form, in the trees and the birds and the rain and all that, through laws, spiritual laws, as real as any physical law. And they're just as provable as any physical law. You just have to pay attention, watch it work. And we are here to learn, share, and really learn how to practice those two things, to really bring it to life in our life. So that's what we've got. We've got a system, and we've got an invitation to practice. And that's, according to Ernest, I think it's pretty simple. And I think that's really important. And our work is to figure out, where are we? Are we in the bright, sunny day or the dark, sacred night? And to own that and to recognize it and to know that we are being pulled up by this life force so that we can be the magnificence that we are, that we can be the gift that we have. And I want to let you know that every one of you, if you put out your hand right now, your right hand, if you were to put out your right hand right now and I ask you to imagine that you have within your hand a magic wand that you've created, can you feel it? And so the power of imagination has you know that there's something there. Now, we cannot see the spiritual principle, but we know it's there, just like we know when we imagine that we have a magic wand. And what if that magic wand were really there because we've chosen to have it be there. We've chosen to give it attention. We're not by ourselves creating the power of this magic wand. It's who we are. We're just looking at it. We're taking it from our consciousness and we're looking at it in our imagination to say, what is possible with this magic wand? If I could do anything in my life with this magic wand, if I could create anything that I wanted, what would I create? So I ask you, take your wand, notice what it feels like, and ask yourself, if it could create anything, what would you create in your life? And do that. Imagine that. And then just imagine what's possible because of that. What are the possible outcomes from believing in that, from seeing that, from imagining that, from trusting that? What are the possible outcomes? And so that's what's possible for us. In fact, the magic wand is just our own awareness. It's just our own gifts that we are becoming conscious of. It's our own choice. It's our own purpose. It's our own life. Now take that same wand, put it in your hand, and imagine that you could do one thing in this community. That if there were some wonderful thing that would support us to thrive, what would it be? And let that come into your awareness. What is the gift that you hold? Because it's your gift of your awareness. And how does that play out in the thriving of this community? See, the brain doesn't know the difference between an imagined thing and a real thing. And so if we imagine the thing that we want to experience, that we feel called to experience in our own selves, then this whole system of life, it like goes into gear. And it feels this movement that you have called forth. And it says, all right, let's go there, let's do that. That's what they're ready for. Ask and you shall receive. Give and it is given. You cannot stop the law from working. It will do whatever you direct it to do. That's how the creative process works. What you put in is what you get out. So like when my son's first child was born, and she was really quite ill and was in an incubator and had to stay in NICU for 2 weeks. And they were terrified. And they were really worried. And it was their first baby, and they'd wanted it so long, and they were in their 40s, you know. And here's this precious baby, and she's full of tubes and buttons and all this stuff, and her color is odd, and they couldn't hold her. And so one night, you know, they were like, oh my God, it's so awful, and they were afraid and they were scared. And I said, do you feel what you're feeling? Do you notice what you're feeling? And they said, yeah, we're scared, we're worried, what if she doesn't get better? I said, do you realize that you are feeding your child with your feelings? It's as direct as those IVs. Because that's what our feelings do. That's what our emotions are. They're food. They create just as surely as our words and our thoughts and our beliefs. And so they were there in this moment and they went, but we would never want to do that. Of course you wouldn't. You don't intentionally do that. You're scared. That's normal. But is it going to get you the result you want? No. It's not. And so I said, what if you could switch your switch, shift your switch. That's something to say. Switch or shift your switch. Better not try to do that more than twice. Could be dangerous. But what if we could, because in fact we can, we just change our perspective. And we look at it through another window. Not the window where we think we have to suffer and where it's always going to be awful and what if the horrible things happen. What if we look at it from the thing that says, wow, you're 40-something and you have a baby, oh my God, and the doctors say she's going to be fine. And what if she is just the most amazing creature ever, and you're part of the creation of that? And what if you could just love her right as she is right now? And what if she could feel that love? And they went, yeah. And what if, and then they're going in, yeah, and what if this, and what if she's really a great student, and what if she has so much fun, and what if she's the light of our life? I said, yeah. And they said, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to learn to do this. We're going to shift from fear to love. And they did it. I watched them. They had no training. They don't go to church. They're just good people, like most people. And all they needed was somebody to say, you could do it differently. And you could have a different result. That little baby is the same one that I told you about, who when we saw an accident in the car, she said, well, let's send them love from our heart. That same baby learned that lesson. We were all involved in a choice to shift from fear to faith, into love. And it's contagious, just like the fear is contagious. So if we want that baby to thrive, we've got to love her and give her all the love we've got. When I was doing business in the Soviet Union, and I'd spent 7 years and everything I owned, and I was about to become a millionaire. Really, I was about to become a millionaire. I was about to be a rich woman. You'll know about that in a minute. And the project fell apart on the very day that we were going to World Bank for the $64 million funding. It fell apart. And the president of the Soviet company said to the vice president of Boise Cascade, the American company, he said, the trouble is our cultures see things differently. I see this project with all of the troubles that it has, with all of the challenges that it's got. I see it as my child, to give everything I can to it, to give it my very best resources, to grow it up. And you see your project, our project, as an employee, as something to get money out of, as something to get the most work out of for the least funds. Now, you know, I know Dick, the Boise person. He's a wonderful man. He was my partner, and I loved him. And he would never think that that's what he was doing. But when you put those cultures together, you could see that there was a choice that was subconsciously being made that was causing a lot of suffering for his company and for the Soviet company too, because of where they were choosing to put their attention. And that's how the creative process works. That's the essence of it. Where we put our attention is what we get, what we grow. And so that's the good and the heart of it. When I was teaching as a volunteer in 7th grade for some years, some long time ago, I taught one thing. I started every day with one thing, and it was a formula. E plus R equals O. Event plus response equals outcome. Now, anybody can understand that. Kindergarten kids can get it. Event plus response equals outcome. So whatever it is that is happening, we may have no control over. Look at what's going on in the world. It can be terrifying. It can have us want to run and hide. But our response to it will make a difference about how it really materializes, not only in our psyche, but in the world. Do you believe that? So then if you believe that, then you know where your responsibility is. Yeah, it's to see it in a way you want to experience it. So this is one of my favorite books, and I'm going to end with this. This would be a great book club book. It's called To Know as We Are Known, Education as a Spiritual Journey. And I was talking to Reverend Lynn today. I said, you got to read this, because to do education from this mindset is so powerful. And so there's so many things I'd like to read to you, but there isn't really time. But I want to read this one thing. And he said that, sort of like the quote of Dr. Holmes, he said that education, the purpose of education, is to teach and to create a space in which obedience to truth is practiced. Now think about Dr. Holmes' quote, and think about the purpose of education: to create a space where obedience to the truth is practiced. That's what church is. That's what we do here. We bring our best here so it can create a space that is the best soil, the least number of rocks, the best fertilizer, enough water, enough sun, all that stuff that it takes for a seed to come up and thrive. And we're the seeds. And so this is our church. It's in our hands. We create it. And I'm so joyful to see how many of you are here creating it with us today. And I know that we're all on this same wonderful journey. And so I ask the practitioners to join me as we close this moment and shift from this to consciously giving our best, consciously serving from our own overflow of generosity. But first we remember. So I know that E plus R equals O is true for me. I know that I live in an infinite presence, that it is unlimited, and its principles are so clear. Life is abundant. I am abundant. Life is beauty. I am beauty. Life is whole. I am whole. God is peace. I am peace. All that God is, I am. I know that is so. And so therefore I know that right now, in this present moment, all of creation is in my hand. My life is my playground. I can enter that cave. I can see that darkness. I can say, I am more than this. I can say, forgive me for that. I can say, I forgive you for that. And I can exit that cave because I will have found a gift of great measure. The gift of being responsible for my own creation, for my own life, and the response that I have to all the events around me. And that, my dear friends, is one of the pillars of spiritual living. To be responsible and to know that this too shall pass. And I stay strong in my faith. And I know the same for you. We are here learning how to do this. And so if you have a challenge, I ask you to go to the prayer room and meet with one of these practitioners, to let it off your heart and let them go divide, 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 and pull you back into your awareness of yourself. Life is so wonderful. It's a wonderful life. And we can do amazing things if we let ourselves say yes. Yes to life. Yes to growing. Yes to peace. Yes to love. Yes to forgiveness. Yes to new beginnings. So I give thanks for all of this that we have been given. And I know we use it well. And it ripples out from each of us, creating a magnificent, magnificent, thriving, overflowing with goodness spiritual community. This is already so. And so it is.